Okay, our next non-Mendelian genetics is polygenic inheritance. So polygenes, more than one gene. Normally all we've talked about so far have been single gene traits. Now we're talking about multiple gene traits that could lead to a lot of different allele combinations and a lot of different phenotypes. So polygenic inheritance, you have these traits, these characteristics, specifically in humans, these are the ones that we're most concerned with, that are controlled by more than one gene. So again, if you have a gene that has at least the two alleles for a trait, and you've got multiple genes, then you've got a lot of different genotypes and a lot of different phenotypes that are possible. So when we're talking about polygenic traits in humans, one of the first ones I go to or I think about is our height. So I've got two diagrams here for height. The first diagram here looks like it might have been like a senior class in like 1977, and they took them down to the football field and they said, okay, everybody line up based upon your height. And then this is what you get, this nice little bell curve. And then we see it in a graph here. So just like any other bell curve, we see a lot of individuals here around average and then the outliers. Same thing goes with our skin color. So this looks like you went into maybe the Clinique counter at Belk and said, I need a new foundation. And you look at this type of situation to figure out where do you fall. But again, this is all of the different genotypes and phenotypes possible because of polygenics or multiple genes. Your eye color. So you've got eye color that you can have pigmentation, melanin production in the front, the back part of your eye, the back, or both. And depending on where your pigmentation is and the amount of pigmentation and the pattern of pigmentation will give you the different eye colors. And same thing works for your hair color. So polygenic inheritance is what determines a lot of the traits that we're always so interested in. Now, these polygenic traits, one of the arguments you get into at this point is nature versus nurture. So this is one of those concepts that you might encounter again in a psychology class. So how much of us is our genetic makeup versus how much of us is determined by our environment, environmental factors. So I've got just a few examples here. But some things that will affect our polygenic traits, of course, environmental factors, your health, and your diet. So some good examples would be um, gigantism. So I've got a couple of examples here of people with what it's called gigantism. And then somebody who just really was tall. Now, with people with gigantism, they typically have this look of they have really large faces and really large hands, so those continue to grow. And the issue that they have is usually a tumor on the pituitary gland that causes them to continue to increase to produce human growth hormone and causes them to continue to grow. So whatever causes that tumor, again, could it be something from their environment that they were exposed to for long periods of time that caused them to develop that tumor that then in turn resulted in the gigantism. Your health and your diet. So you might be predetermined in your family to be really tall, and then something happened and you're just not. So your health and your diet can play into that. So what if you were predetermined by your genes to be a certain height, like the rest of your family members, but maybe you were a sickly baby. Maybe you were a picky toddler. So you were sick as a baby and you couldn't keep food down. You were picky as a toddler and you only ate ketchup and pancake syrup. So your diet and your health kind of worked against your genes and you didn't quite make it to where the rest of your family members are. And then I think of another modern example, kind of goes along with the health here. So I found this picture for one type of medication, and you might have seen commercials for this too. I know I've seen them. This is for Latisse. And Latisse is something that you can use, and it looks like it's topical because it looks just like a little eye drop there. So topical means you're just going to put it in your eye. Um, this is supposed to help you grow eyelashes. Now, you've probably seen these commercials the same way I have when they're telling you about how great it's going to be to grow eyelashes. They also really quickly tell you all of the side effects because everything that you take, there are side effects. And one of the side effects is that it could change your eye color. Now, that's fairly alarming because your eye color is controlled by the production of a pigment called melanin. Now, that melanin you probably heard of before in melanoma. So, that is a type of skin cancer that results in these cells in the innermost layers of your skin that produces melanin kind of going haywire. Remember, we talked about the cell cycle and it going haywire and how that can result in cancer. So it doesn't seem too safe to me, that's just me, for me to be playing around with some type of topical ointment that could potentially change my eye color. Something to think about. Okay, what we're going to do with this is we're going to play around with polygenic traits and looking at height. And one of the things that can contribute to your height are the length of the bones in your feet. Yes, feet. Nobody likes feet, but we're dealing with feet. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do, and I've sent everything that's going to be on here is going to be on Classroom. So you're going to have a lab sheet, you're going to have a sheet to record data, and then you're going to have a place to create some graphs. But what I'm going to ask you to do, the real quick and the short, is to measure one of your feet. If your feet smell, you don't have to tell us. We don't need to know. We don't want to know. Um, Record that information on a chart that I'm going to place on Classroom. Please use centimeters to make sure we're all consistent, all doing the same thing. I'm going to give you all a couple of days to get through um, the assignments that I'm giving you all, and then we'll call it time, and however many people participate is however many people we have to participate. But I'm going to leave a chart for you to place your foot length, and then we're going to do a little bit of analysis. So with the analysis, you're going to have some questions to answer based upon what you get with the foot lengths for your class. We're going to look at males and females separately. And again, I'm going to provide you with some materials on Classroom for you to make graphs. We're going to practice a little bit of some of this basic math that sometimes we just skip right over because at this point we get used to doing the big stuff and we forget about the little stuff and the basic skills. But we are going to play around a little bit with mean, median, mode, and range with these foot lengths. And in case you need a little tutorial, got one here, you can just click on it, it'll take you there. So I'm going to give you a little while to work on this. And then hopefully everybody will have shared their feet length, and we'll talk about this later.